Episode 313. In this episode, we are going to cover off a lovely new newsletter that's telling us all about search and what's happening within our organization.
No, we're not.
Well, why not? Subscribe to the newsletter. Anyway, second thing, we could allow our guests to manage some tags, if you will, and that might give them a bit more power within our team. Just going to sort of pick one of the... there we go. We'll go with this one. Community campaigns and Viva Engage. That's going to be interesting to talk about because it's another tool in our communication box. On with the show, 313. Yeah. Well, Daniel, I know I did kind of like the pin the tail on the on the message to choose what was next.
What should be next? What are we going to actually do? Well, people, this thing is planned out to the letter. Don't let Darrell fool you. We are professionals here, and while you're here listening to us professionals, go ahead and give a thumbs up to this video for those on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on the podcast for the audio listeners, wherever you have found the podcast, because we're on all of the podcast platforms that matter. And make sure that you share out this episode. Would love for you to share out the episode. I'm going to I'm going to ask you to make some comments. See, that's where the make came in. I'm going to ask you to make comments down below, but probably toward the end after you've heard things and you want to make comments. You know what I mean?
No, they're like me, Daniel. They're like me. Like I'll be watching something, and while I have a thought in the middle of watching a video, I've got to jump down there and make a comment. And then after I've posted that comment, I continue to listen for a bit, and I find, they answered that question. Now I feel stupid.
Yeah. Do you go and delete your comment?
No, I just leave it
there.
there.
You just leave it there? Okay. Gotcha.
I'm a purist, I'm like, the conversation's out there in the ether.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode 313. Love to have you here. And you know what else I love? I love community. I love those that you people out there, Ewans, that you're listening and watching the show. I met quite a few people, and I've got to figure out how I post all these pictures. I got a bunch of selfies with listeners and watchers of the show at ESPC this past week. Had a great time. Love it. I absolutely love it when people come up to say, hey, we enjoy it. And I had another person tell me that they use this show in their job, and we are their coworkers. I've had multiple people tell me that they're pretty much alone in this role of trying to figure out how to manage this change. And we're their coworkers. We're here to help, right? I absolutely love that.
Yeah. I remember. A few people telling us over the years the same.
Yeah.
Of all languages and walks of life, and I think that is very cool because that's kind of what this was born out of. Daniel and I wanting to take a look at the messages on our own and together, and then just pass comment and. It's become a community thing. Hey, and we're also thankful, too, for all you new people that have sort of found us on this new channel, which we've had for over a year now. We kind of moved things along and started out here, but we're getting very, very close to unlocking a few more power-ups for this channel. So we're looking forward to that, too. So if you haven't subscribed and you do find some value, just click on that button and make it happen.
Yes, please do. We would love for you to do that. Oh, and I gave away a bunch of stickers. In fact, I have no more glitter stickers. They're all gone. And then I'm really low on the special edition Midnight Holographic. So we've got to figure out how to get some of those. Everybody loved the stickers, and thank you everyone who came up or attended a session and grabbed those. We love to have you part of the community. And again, I won't ask you now, but throw in a comment down below, especially if you saw me and we talked at SBC. Would love for you to leave a comment saying that. But you could also do that on the social channels. Where are we, Darrell, on the socials?
At 365 MCS, because it's easy to remember. Message Center Show.
Yeah, it's easy for us. I don't know about everybody else, but we don't care. I mean, we do care. Don't get me wrong. We care. It's just, anyway.
Well, it hasn't changed from being called the Message Center. So until that happens, we're quite comfortable with this name.
Don't give anybody at Microsoft that idea. We know there are people from Microsoft listening, and please do not get that idea. We'd greatly appreciate you not doing that.
It's the Copilot Message Show with your very special guest star, Kermit the Frog. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into it, shall we, please? First message: introducing monthly search newsletter for, you guessed it, search administrators. MC 69464646 squared. So I'm a huge proponent of having someone in your organization, or multiple people, but at least someone who curates search, who is in there checking out what people are searching for, and not finding. Understanding what the gaps are in your navigation or on-page content or whatever for your internet, and making changes in search, doing things like bookmarks or Q&A, helping people find the content that they need. Well, this is going to make it just even more easier, because everyone needs more email in their life, and Microsoft is going to help those search administrators get more email. So you're going to be able to receive a newsletter that provides search metrics and insights directly into the search admin's mailbox. Now, we would love for us to be able to show you what that newsletter is going to look like, but we can't, because there's no.
I can try and draw it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. So Darrell's going to. Oh no, he's actually going to do it. He took his ears off, so he can't even hear what I'm saying. So here's Darrell. He's drawing. We can't really see because it is blurry back there, because he has one of those fancy cameras, and it's focused closer to us, but. Maybe he'll bring the board to us, but again, he can't hear because he took his earbuds out. So he's still drawing. I think he's done. He's finished. Now he's done the whole magnifique kind of thing, but what he doesn't realize is that we can't see it. It's blurry because his camera's focused on his face. And what did you draw there? Give us a description.
What did I draw? Okay. So I have drawn what looks like a magnifying glass with an eyeball in it. Okay. And a pie graph and some analysis in squiggly lines and a bar graph. Let me just get closer to it.
All right. So
No.
Maybe what Darrell's going to do is take a picture of it and is going to flash it up on the screen right now.
Yeah,
so
I'll do that.
All of this craziness that you just endured, listeners and watchers, of what we just did.
Listeners didn't have to put up with it.
Well, they kind of did, because I gave a play-by-play of what you were doing. Because we don't have it in the message. People, please put screenshots or something in the message so we know what it's going to look like. So we're going to.
We know why, though, Daniel.
Why?
We know why there's delays. Because all the Figma resources taken up by Copilot at the moment.
I'm not going to step in that pile of dew. So we're going to have deeper insights, whatever that means, delivered to us in our inbox. You can unsubscribe from it, but please don't. If you're the search admin, this is your job. You should subscribe to this newsletter. Standard release rolling out early December, so now, and expected to be completed by mid-December, so very, very quickly. So be looking out for it. Darrell, I would like to, do some external sharing with Whiteboard. Is there any changes or updates in that area? that you can tell me about?
Well, yes, there is, Daniel. There is. Excited to say so. Microsoft Whiteboard, external guest sharing via a specific people share link. MC694383. Specific people share link. That's right, the link that you create when you're sharing a file and you're putting specific people's names in there. So this, when we're using things like this within our organization, of course, we can add, if Daniel was in my organization, I'd add his name from the address list or the directory. And if I need to share something like a file from my OneDrive or from a site that is that it allows external sharing, then I can put in an email address of someone, an external person, and I can share that file with them. Well, it's going to now support Microsoft Whiteboard, and this is a good thing, not just for needing to share and collaborate with people as guests, but imagine being able to actually also add and share the whiteboard from meetings, for example. When we're inviting people to private meetings, they might see it during the meeting, but maybe we want them to be able to continue to add and contribute to it. So that is going to be possible. Now, let's see, users of your tenant will have the ability to send whiteboards, PSLs to AAD guests. Wow, I have all these acronyms here, man. But basically being able to collaborate with guests on whiteboards. If your tenant has business to business invitation manager enabled, then whiteboard PSLs, which are people share links, can be sent to non-guest users, and to AAD guest accounts will be created for them.
Indeed.
Right. Please note that Whiteboard will respect your OneDrive sharing settings if your tenant does not allow sharing with guests. So the key thing there is, if you have, as an organization, said, "Nah, we're not going to allow sharing with external guests from your OneDrive," and given that like a whiteboard in a private meeting would be stored in your OneDrive as the organizer or the person who adds the whiteboard, you need to have that enabled. But anyway, it's a step forward. Daniel, can you see some possibilities of extending whiteboard collaboration to guests?
Well, yes. Whiteboard not being able to be shared with external has been a hindrance to collaboration, to productivity. It's a great tool, and we want to be able to collaborate with those that are not in our tenant. So being able to do this, specific people being able to, manage this, I think it's a great feature that a lot of people will be using. Absolutely.
And the specific link is managed quite cleverly these days. Like when you want to share something with people in this group chat or recipients of this email, it's going to take those addresses, and now it will also support the external guest links. So when is this becoming available? Feature will begin rolling out in mid-December, so in about a week or so, and be complete late January 2024. Now, do you want me to talk about that other one that has to do with the same kind of specific people share link now while we're on that topic?
Sure. Might as well.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. But it's just as impactful. We just talked about a meeting experience with whiteboards. Well, there's something else that's become quite useful on the scene for meetings, and that is collaborative notes. And so we have the next message, which is specific people link, support for collaborative notes, MC694130. So staying in that scenario of a private meeting where I've invited a few people who are outside of my organization, some people that are here. Today, if I fire up collaborative notes powered by Loop, then only people in my organization can see those notes. But what is going to be possible is, through this specific people sharing link, I will be able to share that file with specific people, and they'll be able to collaborate on those notes as well. Now, yeah, there's a bit of detail in there in terms of what does that mean and how does that work. If your tenant default is people sharing link, then your collaborative notes will now generate that people sharing link. Beforehand, and I think this is really a key thing here, that beforehand when you added collaborative notes, oh look, you know what? I've got to correct something here. There is no mention really of guests. I remember reading this just before the show. It's not about guest access to collaborative notes. Sorry, got you all excited. Maybe I should use that as the clickbait for the episode, but but it's because collaborative notes by default were shared using a organizational link, allowing everyone from my organization to access the collaborative notes. So that's convenient, worked quite nicely. But if you wanted to keep those notes, private or more restricted, you didn't have that option. Now you do. It's going to share it specifically with people in the meeting. At the moment, so sorry, it's only people from your organization. But I would say this, that if this is the first step, the next step, once you can use Loop shared with externals, that this will be the groundwork for it.
Well, this begs the question, though, Darrell, because, and we talked about this, with collaborative notes coming to, loops coming to channels, right? We talked about this. We surmised that guests would be able to see them because those files are going to be stored in the SharePoint for that team. And so there's guests there.
Yep.
Is that true?
And I can confirm that. From experience.
Right. But why are collaborative notes any different than other Loop component?
Yeah. Well, okay. So today, collaborative notes are only supported in private meetings, not in channel meetings. Right. So the channel experience of components, sure, you can add them to a conversation in a channel, and as a guest of that team, I can see them. Yeah. But not the meeting experience. Whereas the collaborative notes in a meeting are private, and therefore the Loop would be stored in the OneDrive, and that's not yet supported as a guest sharing experience for Loop.
Exactly. Yep.
And for all those who don't know, and they go, what the heck is Loop? We'll fill you in.
Well, first of all, you haven't followed Darrell on any of the socials or YouTube because he's the Loop man, if you don't know who Loop is.
A Loop man.
In my mind, you're
I'm one of the Loops.
You're loopy, all right. So when's this rolling out?
Totally. Targeted release, rolling out early January 2024. Got to say the year these days because sometimes it can take a couple. Completed late January. Standard release, begin rolling out early February 2024. Expected to be complete late February. So, maybe just in time for me to show some of the stuff at the Digital Workplace Conference New Zealand.
Nice. That'd be great. Yeah.
Passing on to Daniel, what shall we get you to talk about next? I'm going to tag you on this one.
I was about to say.
Yeah, you take it.
You're
just
picking one.
Take it from here. Yeah, totally.
Tags management settings now include option to exclude/include guests. Actually, that's not what this is. So anyway, MC694644. The reason I say it's not that, it's so there's not an option to say, don't let guests manage tags. It's the same options we've had before, which didn't allow guests to manage tags. Or you could select the one that does include guests. So that title is a little bit misleading. There's not a new option that goes include or exclude, right? Like a toggle or something. So basically, right now we have the ability to say team owners only can manage tags, or team owners and members can manage tags, create those things, include people. We're also going to have an option now to say team owners, members, and guests can create tags. Now we're giving a little bit, you can give a little bit more power to your guest to collaborate and to enable collaboration with the whole team. You don't have to do anything. It's not like it's going to go in there and change this option for teams. So if you don't want guests to be able to manage tags, then don't do anything. But if you do, then you can go in there and change the setting to allow them to do that. So if you, and it does talk about how you could turn this off for the whole tenant. If you don't want anybody screwing around in there and giving guests access to be able to do this, you can change it to, and there's instructions on how to do that. Darrell, do you see any value here in the way you work or what you've seen for allowing guests to, create tags or add people to tags?
I mean, someone must have asked about it because Microsoft enabled it, but no. I mean, let's say that it's the organization hosting the team maybe has a massive team for some community, and the tags are used to bring together people who might be subject matter experts or admins or, I don't know, community managers. I don't know. Maybe there's some creative use of the tags for addressing different groups of people, and in this scenario, they want to allow guests to be able to create those tags.
Well, what I'm thinking of is maybe one scenario could be you're working with a large number of guests in your team that you're interacting with a agency or consulting firm, and there's a lot of guests in there, and you want to allow the team lead of the guests team lead to manage who's in different roles, or to be able to add guests that they know are now in a certain role to an existing tag and manage that, something like that. Maybe. I also think, sometimes features roll out because Microsoft needed it, to be honest. And, Microsoft has a lot of teams with guests, like a lot of teams and a lot of guests. So, maybe they saw a need to delegate guests and, some tag management. But this is rolling out early December, so nowish, and expected to be completed by mid-December, so soonish. So we should be able to see that rolling out soon. Speaking of rolling out, how do we roll stuff out using Viva Engage in organizations?
Well, you might be referring to campaigns, which could be about rollouts, could also be about a topic and focus in your organization. And so this message, community campaigns and Viva Engage, MC 694119. For those who do track and look at what's happening in the Engage space, communications people and M365 orgs that use this, we've been used to using hashtags for quite some time to, in a social sense, add a topic to what we're typing about. And topics in that whole sort of scenario has changed a bit over time, because now we have Viva topics and this quite orderly AI-assisted way of curating knowledge within an organization. So topics have had a reshuffle in Viva Engage. And there's still the need, though, for a hashtag. And what this allows us to do is, let's say that we have an internal campaign about sustainability, and we want to not only talk about it and have posters and get people thinking about it and discussing, but we want to allow people to chain those conversations together with a hashtag wherever they're having those conversations across the Engage platform. And so campaigns lets you create a home for that hashtag. So not only are you clicking on a word where you've hashtag sustainability and it brings up all these search results where there's all these conversations about sustainability, but you also get a page and you can set things like goals and you can follow a campaign. You can have executives or leadership, people that are actually nominated as leadership across your organization can say, I sponsor this. And so there's a lot of cool things that you can do to give this campaign a bit more presence in your communications. So this, it's going to be quite useful as a tool for attaching to things that we might want to communicate widely about. Not just rolling out things, but also, any kind of change that's happening, anything that you want to celebrate together. I think, let's just say that there's a hashtag for the holiday season coming up. And so, or maybe you come up with some fun campaign for sharing your summertime pics or something like that. I'm allowed to say that, by the way, because we're coming into summer. So, all you Northern Hemisphere people, it's our turn to celebrate summer. Hashtag our turn.
Oh my.
Anyway, I've gone way off on a tangent and I've lost Daniel.
Bring it on back.
Completely. Bring it on back. Come on back then. All right. So this is expected to be rolling out January 2024 for those who are using Viva Engage. Is there anything that it kind of depends on? I haven't I felt like this was something that also was tied to an elevated license for Engage, which you can access via either the Suite license, Viva Suite license, or Viva Communities and Connections. But it doesn't actually mention that here in the message.
No, but I'm pretty sure that's true. I believe that's correct. You have to have a license to do campaigns. And I believe you get both. It's with both the license, that you mentioned, the CNC, and as well.
I know why it doesn't mention it, Daniel. And this is, I think, again, feedback for the people who write their messages for the Message Center. The reason I see this, and you see this too, is Daniel and I have a few Viva Suite licenses given to us from the MVP program, so we can get to explore the features. I'm getting this message in my Message Center because I have that feature. And actually on the message, at the top where it says services, it says Microsoft Viva. Yeah. So it's just assumed, I guess, from someone who's written this message that, it'll appear in the tenants that have it and it won't for those that don't.
But we know what assuming does, people. So stop assuming and be more clear.
Yep.
Please.
Yes.
So, pretty please.
That's that message. But are we finishing now on this important retirement message?
I think we are. So this one is SharePoint add-in retirement in Microsoft 365 and on-prem. But I'll tell you about that in a second. MC693865. Microsoft has announced that the SharePoint add-in, so think SharePoint Store, basically, is going away. It is something that they're not going to support after a certain date. And then we're going to talk about dates here in a moment. So this is something that will affect both the consumers, so people who have installed apps, these add-ins from the SharePoint store, as well as any sort of third-party developers, ISVs that are delivering their product via the store. And I know there are some that are delivering those products through the store. So I know some of them, in fact, maybe even a majority of them, have switched to a different model, but there were some still, last time I looked, that were using the SharePoint store as a way of delivering these add-ins. So you're not going to be able to use it. And the reason why I said on-prem as well, although on-prem is not mentioned at all in this message, it is mentioned in the learn.microsoft documentation about this, but it is the same store that's used for both. And so the only thing that really is going to affect on-prem is the the 26th of 2026, April 2nd date that is listed here is saying Microsoft will remove the ability use. Maybe we need to edit that sentence a little bit, but Microsoft remove the ability use SharePoint add-ins for existing tenants. That also will affect on-prem. So let's start with the top. June 1st, next year, 2024, add-ins cannot be installed from the public marketplace. Okay, so can't go to the SharePoint store and install new add-ins. Okay. You can use a private catalog, and that's the way other third parties and ISVs deliver apps, right? It's not through the store, but through your private tenant catalog, right? They have you upload the app into your tenant catalog and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Starting November 1st of next year, 2024, new tenants will not be able to use SharePoint add-ins. So regardless of the origin, the public marketplace or the private tenant catalog. Okay. So new tenants, you're not going to be able to use either one. Okay. But then April 2nd, 2026. And frankly, we are 2.5 years removed from this date. Does anyone believe this date will stay the same? Any hands raised? Nobody? Okay. I don't either. I don't believe it. Prove me wrong, Microsoft, but a date this far in advance, I highly doubt that it will be April 2nd, 2026. I think it'll slip. But anyway, that's the plan now. Microsoft will remove the ability to use those add-ins, and which means if you're using these add-ins, they're done. They'll quit being used. You won't be able to use them anymore. Kaput. It's gone. So what is the option here? And really the option is just to switch that functionality with the SharePoint framework solutions. And so if you're using these solutions from a third party, from an ISV or whatever, you need to contact them and say, what is your plan? How do we deal with this? What are you going to do? If they're something that maybe is small or something you're using, then maybe you need to contact a consultant to develop or get a developer for you to create a SharePoint framework solution in that space. So, Darrell, have you used the SharePoint store at all to install applications in your tenant or in customers' tenants?
Not recently, but years ago, yes. And that was how the OneNote Classroom notebook was distributed, if you recall. And the fun around that was that when something needed to be updated, you'd have to go and manually do that. But yeah, that's the last time I touched it, and I think that might be 6 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's there was a lot of. I get not wanting to support this, and SharePoint Framework has been the tool to use for a while now. So it seems like the online store has been kind of neglected for a little while. So not in a sense that there's just not a way to, for instance, I believe there's not a way to manage licenses within the SharePoint store. So you had to basically get a license in some other way. It's not really a great way for developers to manage that. So anyway, it's going away in those dates. And by the way, Project Online, there was some apps for Project Online. That uses the SharePoint store because Project Online is SharePoint anyway. So if you're using any add-ins for Project Online, hint, hint, your same schedule, you're going to need to make sure that you're ready for it. All right. That's all I got. So now we're at the time of the show where Darrell said, no, I'm just joking. I was going to put Darrell on the spot.
Darrell says,
no, I'm going to remind you, people, wonderful, wonderful people who are out there, to leave a comment on the show, to ask questions, or let us hear your thoughts on what we've said or what we didn't say. Maybe we missed something you think is important. And make sure you hit us up on socials. We'd love to engage with you there on all the socials that matter. And if there's a social network that you want us to be on that we're not on, write us at, socials at 365mcs.us.com. There you go.
Who owns that domain?
There's not a domain of that. So I have no
idea.
Okay.
I was just checking. Yeah.
That doesn't, .us.com is not a thing. I don't think it is. But anyway, don't do it.
Okay. Well, it might be.
I don't know. Maybe.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And look, let's see what next week brings. You might have noticed this episode was a little late. That's okay. We're better late than not, right? We did need to give Daniel a bit of time to recover from his big journey back from Amsterdam. But we also had to turn down a couple of messages that we saw arrive this week and put them off till next week. So let's talk about them then. You coming back? See us then.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.